Well, good afternoon. If it's Tuesdays, 12:30 Eastern Time, it's time for Tuesday's Tips with Michael here live. Live, wherever you're seeing this. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Come check us out. We're also on YouTube. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, we're archiving all of these on our YouTube channel. I'll post a link to the YouTube channel wherever you're seeing this later today so you can subscribe and get updates when we post new videos. So as you know, we're going through this kind of leadership journey this fall. We're going through the Work of Leaders program and the Work of Leaders book. I'm not sure if I've done this in the past, but here's the Work of Leaders book done by our friends over at Wiley. It's a great book. It supports the program we teach. It works with it supports the assessment. I always use this assessment in my leadership coaching program. It's really, really good to get leaders to focus in on crafting a vision, building alignment around that vision, and then championing execution and making sure that vision gets implemented. And those three steps are really, really important. What I like about the book is it really goes through some serious case studies of where this has really played out for leaders in their organization. So if you haven't picked up the bus, there's a lot of good tips in there on the things we're talking about in all three of those areas. So if you haven't picked up the book, it's an easy read. It's a weekend read if you're interested in working on your leadership skills. Definitely check it out. We're also taking questions along the way. So if you have questions on leadership, HR, training, I'm getting some good questions from our followers, if you will. I will address some of those questions in a future episode. So if you have questions on HR, leadership, or training, send them off to me. So we're in the final stages of the assessment process here, and we're championing execution. So we've been talking about execution over the last couple of weeks. We had a couple more weeks to go, and then we'll move on to something around teamwork. Little cue you up for a little surprise here in a couple of weeks. But we're talking about execution, and we started with momentum, and momentum is keeping that train running 300 miles an hour on the tracks, right? This time we're talking about structure. Last week we talked about having a plan because the plan is the tracks where the train resides. And without a good set of tracks, what happens to the train? Without a good plan, what happens to all that momentum? It kind of goes off the rails, if you will. But today we're going to talk about analyzing in depth. So along with planning, you need to analyze as you're executing to make sure that any bumps that come up along the way, you can address those bumps. Or if you're on the train and you see animals start walking by the train tracks, you know what to do in that situation. So analyzing as you go along is a very important part of momentum and structure, keeping that structure in place, keeping, as I say, the trains on the track. So I'm going to give you a couple tips around doing a better job of analyzing in depth. This all goes with the planning. Would be called the data. We've heard a lot about data recently. This is analyzing the data as your vision comes to fruition, if you will. So try to get in front of problems as you move forward in your execution. Try to come in front of some of the problems. What problems are we trying to solve here? Identify potential problems as they arise. If you hit a snag, make sure you fully understand the problem before you move on. Make sure you surround yourself with folks who like analyzing things. I say this to leaders all the time. Mike, I'm not really good at this or that or the other thing, right? We talked about a lot of things over the last few weeks. I'm not really good at that. What do I do? Well, I would grab some folks around you that do this really well and get them and encourage them to work with you on this particular area so that you as a group can go forward and lead this vision moving forward. So work with some folks on your team that report to you or those you're leading about those that are really good at analyzing. Give them the opportunity to analyze some of that data in depth. Take a look at other situations that may come up. Take a look at hypothetical situations that may come up and analyze those situations. So when you get to that part of the process or that part as you're executing, you are prepared. You are prepared to handle those situations. You are prepared to handle those situations as they come forward. So analyzing in depth, having a plan, and analyzing that plan along the way. Very important part of executing a vision. The next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about feedback, giving the group you're leading feedback on how well they're doing in executing the vision. We're going to talk about addressing problems as they reside, because it's very important to address problems because nothing is perfect when you start executing. So how do you address those problems and offering praise to those individuals or groups who are helping you execute the vision? So providing feedback along the way is very important. So momentum, structure, feedback, the 3 steps in execution of a vision that you've created that you want to implement with your team or with your organization. I am doing a webinar, a 30-minute webinar on the entire Work of Leaders program process and the assessment. I'm doing that on November 4th in the afternoon Eastern time. I will also post a link to that along with our YouTube channel. Wherever you're seeing this, you'll see a couple links along the way. One will be for the webinar, one will be for our YouTube channel. So thanks for hanging out with me today. If you have questions, send them along. This is Tuesday's Tips with Michael live from the StreamYard studio. I love StreamYard. It's a great platform. And my home office. We'll talk about pictures on the wall maybe some other time. Have a great day. Make it a great week. And we'll see you next Tuesday here in the studio.